developments that are environmentally friendly and resilient to climate change. So by following this law, we ensure that buildings are not only energy efficient, but also prepared for climate-related risks. So this law is a key part of how we can build a future that is safer, more sustainable, and more mindful of the environment, especially in the real estate industry. So to start, let us define what is the climate change. So for the definition, climate change means the weather on Earth is changing over long time. So it's getting hotter, storms are getting stronger, and seasons are becoming less predictable. So as per NASA, climate change is a long-term change in the average weather patterns that have come to define Earth's local, regional, and local global climates. So these changes have a broad range of observed effects that are synonymous with the term. So climate change mostly because of human activities like driving cars, using electricity from coal, cutting down trees, and throwing too much waste. So this action releases gases that trap heat in the air like a giant blanket around the Earth. So again, climate change is a long-term changes in Earth's weather patterns. It includes hotter temperature, stronger storms, and unpredictable seasons. So yung seasons natin nagiging unpredictable. It is mostly caused by human activities that release heat-trapping gases. On the other hand, global warming naman is the long-term heating of Earth's surface, observed since the pre-industrial period between 1850 and 1900, due to human activities, primarily fossil fuel burning, which increases heat trapping greenhouse gas levels in Earth's atmosphere. So this term is not interchangeable with the term climate change. So again, the global warming is the steady rise or the long-term heating in Earth's surface temperature over time. It mainly caused by burning fossil fuels like coal, oil, and also natural gas. So next, let's differentiate naman what is weather and what is climate. So weather, when we say weather, it refers to atmospheric conditions that occur locally over short periods of time, from minutes to hours or days. So some familiar examples include rain, snow, clouds, winds, floods, and also thunderstorms. So climate, on the other hand, refers to the long term. It usually at least 30 years, regional or even global average of temperature. Humidity and rainfall patterns over seasons, years, or decades. So again, when we say weather, these are changes of atmospheric conditions over short period of time or daily. Kapag climate naman, it is the usual weather patterns over many years, for at least 30 years. So next, let's proceed sa causes of climate change. So one of the causes of climate change is the greenhouse gas emissions, or the GHG. So buildings and constructions are a huge source of pollution and impact almost 40% of all the gases that trap heat in our atmosphere come from them. So where do these gases came from? So number one is the electricity use. It includes electricity use. So those things like air conditioners and lights often run on electricity made from burning coal or gas. And also building materials like yung paggawa ng mga cement and steel also creates a lot of pollution. Also, bad building design or poor design and poor insulation or layout means more energy is needed to heat or cool the specific space. Another cause of climate change is burning of fossil fuels. So construction sites mostly use yung mga heavy machines that run on diesel or gas, and buildings often rely on electricity from non-green sources. So if a structure or a building isn't designed to be energy efficient, like there are no solar panels or poor yung ventilation, it needs more electricity, which usually burns fossil fuels like coal and natural gas. So our green building suggests to use yung mga renewable energy, like yung pag-install ng mga solar panels, to use the sun to deliver or mag provide ng power sa mga buildings. Also, our green building code suggests to have passive cooling designs. So, designing the building to stay cool naturally, like using yung mga bigger windows, shading, or pag-improve ng building orientation. Another reason is the deforestation and land use changes. So large-scale development or spreading cities often cut down forests to make room for buildings and roads. So yung pagde-develop ng mga ng mga roads and also yung pagtayo ng mga buildings, sometimes it requires to para magputol ng puno. So it leads to number one, deforestation. So fewer trees means less shade and mas less yung oxygen. It can lead also to habitat loss. So yung ating mga animals, so nawawalan sila ng kanilang tirahan. Also, cutting trees can lead to more flooding because there are fewer roots to absorb water. So to fix this, our green building code suggests to choose building sites that don't destroy our nature, and also keep green spaces like planting trees, build parks o yung mga open spaces, and paggamit ng mga eco-friendly ways to manage yung ating mga rainwater. Another cause of climate change is the urbanization and waste. So urban areas cause problems like waste management because of too much garbage. Also high demand for electricity and waters. And cities become hotter or yung tinatawag nating heat island effect. So to fix this, our green buildings code suggests to add rooftop gardens or green roofs and pavements that absorb water. And also use efficient waste systems. And also follow yung mga eco-friendly building rules na nakasaad sa green building code. So another one na nakaka-contribute sa climate change is the industrial and construction activities. Because building uses a lot of polluting materials, like yung cement and steel that produces a lot of carbon. So high demand for new building leads to increased resource consumption. So our green building code suggests to use greener materials like yung mga bamboo or mga recycled steel. And build using ready-made parts to reduce yung waste o yung tinatawag na modular or prefab construction. So as stated here, the Philippines is one of the most climate vulnerable countries. So in fact, the Philippines consistently ranks among the top 10 countries most affected by extreme weather events in the Global Climate Risk Index. So specifically, we are top 4 sa Global Risk Index. So the Typhoon Yolanda or the Typhoon Haiyan in 2013 caused over 6,000 deaths and affected over 40 million people. While Typhoon Ondoy naman or the Typhoon Ketsana in 2009 flooded 80% of Metro Manila, prompting the creation of RA 9729, which we will discuss on the next slides. So climate change directly impacts real estate. So climate events like floods, landslides, or rising sea levels can break or ruin yung ating buildings, roads, and other important structures. So when this happens, the land or property in that area can lose yung kanilang value or become less desirable. So also coastal developments or places near the sea and areas where people live without proper planning or strong buildings, like yung mga slums or squatter areas, are more likely to get damaged during storms, floods, or rising sea levels. Also, climate-related damage or when nature causes damage, it becomes more expensive to fix yung mga buildings or yung mga homes. Also, properties in high-risk areas may depreciate in value, face insurance difficulties, and become unsuitable for long-term investment or residential use. Because properties in danger zones like yung mga flood-prone or landslide-prone areas can lose their worth over time. So let us proceed sa Republic Act 9729 or Climate Change Act of 2009. So former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo signed the Climate Change Act of 2009 last October 23, 2009 at Malacanang Palace. So Section 2, Declaration of Policy. So let's start with the rightful ecology. So this part of the law says that every Filipino has the right to a healthy environment. So that means the government must protect our nature not just for now, but also for the future generation. So when we talk about the development, like building roads or or buildings, it shouldn't destroy the environment. Second is about the sustainable development. It follows the Philippine Agenda 21. So what that means is we need to meet the human needs like food, shelter, and jobs, but in a way that it doesn't harm the environment. So for example, we can build homes or start business, but we should use yung ating mga natural resources wisely. So para hindi maubos or ma-damage yung earth for the future generation. Next, we have also the climate justice and the precautionary principle. So climate justice means recognizing that some countries have contributed more to climate change than others. And yet developing countries like tayo sa Philippines suffer the most. So those with more resources should do more help. So the precautionary principle naman is basically saying if there's a risk of harm to people or the planet, we should take action now. Then number 4, this law also shows that the Philippines is a team player. It supports the global climate efforts like the UNFCCC or the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, which works to reduce the greenhouse gases and to promote yung sustainability. And there's also the YOGO Framework for Action, which helps countries prepare for and reduce the disaster risk. Next, the law also acknowledge how vulnerable the Philippines is to climate change like floods, droughts, and even disease outbreaks. It also highlights the need to protect those most at risk, especially the poor, women, and also the children. So these groups often don't have the resources to recover from disasters. So policies should focus on giving them an extra protection and also support. Next is the whole of society approach. So it means that the climate change isn't just the job of the government. It needs the everyone's involvement, including yung ating mga national and local leaders, like NGOs, business, and especially the communities. So the law also makes it clear that climate action should be inclusive and fair. So they should benefit the poor, also protect the children, and be sensitive to gender issues. So it is not just about the environment. It's also about justice and also equality. Next, we have the integrated government action. So this simply means that all government programs about climate change should be working together, not separately. So the goal is to unify strategies. So whether it's for agriculture, transportation, or housing, every department is one of the same page when it comes to responding into climate change. So disaster risk reduction or disaster risk reduction integration. So for this part naman, it connects with disaster preparedness with climate change. So the idea is that when we prepare for the disasters, like mga typhoons, floods, and earthquakes, it also helps us to adapt to climate change. So things like early warning systems, emergency shelters, and also safer infrastructure should be part of every climate plan. And lastly, the law says that the climate change should be part of all planning and policies. Whether it's about building roads, fighting poverty, or making local laws, it should not be treated as a separate issue. So if we want a real impact, we need to mainstream climate thinking into every decision, from the national level down to local barangays. So let's proceed sa section 3, the definition of terms. So for the purposes of this act, the following shall have the corresponding meanings. So let's start with the adaptation. So adaptation refers to the adjustment in natural or human system in response to actual or expected climatic stimuli or their effects, which moderates harm or exploits beneficial opportunities. So adaptation, this means making changes in how we live or use yung ating mga resources to better handle the effects of climate change. So for example, if floods are becoming more common, we might plant ng mga trees that can absorb more water. It's all about adjusting so we can reduce the damage or even make the most of new situations. Next, adaptive capacity. It refers to the ability of ecological, social, or economic system to adjust to climate change, including climate variability and extremes, to moderate or offset potential damages and to take advantage of associated opportunities with changes in climate or to cope with the consequences thereof. So, in simple terms, adaptive capacity means how well we can adjust So this can apply to people, communities, or even sa nature. So if a place has a strong systems, like yung good healthcare or solid infrastructure and disaster plans, it has a high adaptive capacity. So if not, it's more vulnerable when climate problems come. Next is anthropogenic causes. It refers to causes resulting from human activities or produced by human beings. So anthropogenic causes means something caused by humans. So in climate change, this is usually refers to human activities like yung burning of fossil fuels, cutting down the forest, or uh, pollution. So these actions increase greenhouse gases and contribute to global warming. So climate change, na-define na natin ito kanina. Again, it is a long-term change in the Earth's usual weather patterns. Climate vulnerability naman refers to the variations in the average state and in other statistics of the climate on all temporal and spatial scales beyond that of individual weather events. So climate vulnerability means that the weather can naturally go up and down. So this is a shorter term compared to climate change. So climate risk naman refers to the product of climate and related hazards working over the vulnerability of human and natural ecosystem. So climate risk is what happens when climate hazards like yung mga floods or droughts meet yung mga vulnerable areas. So it includes places with weak infrastructure, poverty, or poor planning. So it is the combination of danger plus how exposed and unprepared a community is. Next, we have also the disaster. So a disaster refers to serious disruption of the functioning of a community or a society involving widespread human, material, economic, or environmental losses and impacts which exceed the ability of the affected community or society to cope using its own resources. So in simple terms, disaster means if the damage causes a community not to recover on its own, it's called a disaster. So this could be caused by floods, landslides, and typhoons, or that causes anything that causes major harm and also loss. Next is disaster risk reduction. So it refers to the concept and practice of reducing disaster risk through systematic efforts to analyze and manage the causal factors of disaster, uh, including through reduced exposure to hazards, lessen vulnerability of people and property, wise management of land and the environment, and improve preparedness for the adverse events. So DRR or disaster risk reduction refers to the action taken before a disaster happens to reduce yung mga negative impacts. So this includes yung planning, building in safer areas, preparing people, and managing the environment wisely. So the goal of DRR is to minimize the damage to people, property, and the environment through proper preparation and also management. Next, gender mainstreaming. It refers to the strategy for making women's as well all men's concerns and experiences as integral dimensions of the designs, implementations, monitoring, and evaluation of policies and programs in all political, economic, and societal spheres, so that women and men benefit equally and inequality is not perpetuated. It is the process of assessing implications for women and men of any planned action, including legislation, policies, of programs in all areas and at all levels. So gender mainstreaming means making sure that both men and women are equally considered when creating policies or programs. So this is not just about focusing on men or only on women. So this law provides that both should be equally heard and addressed. So this ensures that programs are fair and inclusive for everyone. Next, global warming. It refers to the increase in the average temperature of the Earth's near surface air and oceans that is associated with the increased concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. So again, define na naman natin ito kanina, global warming is the rise in the Earth's average temperature. Next is the greenhouse effect. So greenhouse effect refers to the process by which the absorption of infrared radiation by the atmosphere warms the Earth. So greenhouse effect is a natural process where heat from the sun is trapped by gases in the atmosphere, keeping the Earth warm enough to sustain life. So however, due to the excessive greenhouse gases today, the Earth is becoming too warm, which is very harmful. Next is greenhouse gases, or GHG, are gases like carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. So these gases trap heat in the atmosphere and contribute pa rin sa global warming. So most of these gases came from sources like cars, factories, landfills, and also burning fossil fuels. Next, mainstreaming refers to the integration of policies and measures that address climate change into development, planning, and sectoral decision making. So again, mainstreaming, it refers to incorporating climate change concerns into all planning and decision making processes such as transportation, housing, or agriculture. So for example, when building a new road, so climate risks like flooding or extreme heat should be considered. So this ensures that all sectors are prepared and accountable for addressing the climate change. Next is the mitigation potential. So in simple terms, no, mitigation potential is about how much we can cut down the harmful gases in the atmosphere and how much it will cost to make those changes. So if a country wants to reduce carbon dioxide emissions, the mitigation potential tells us how much they can do for a certain price. So next is the sea level rise. So it refers naman to the rising of the ocean levels, which can happen because of global warming pa din. So as the earth warms, the water expands and the ice from the land, like sa mga glaciers, melts into the sea, causing the sea levels to rise. So this is worsened by local factors like land subsidence when the land itself sinks. So the rise in sea levels can lead to flooding in sa ating mga coastal areas, causing huge risks for communities and also sa ating ecosystems. Next is vulnerability. So in simple terms, it is how exposed and unprepared the system into things like sa mga extreme weather, floods, or heat waves. So a system vulnerability depends on factors like how fast climate change is happening, how sensitive it is to changes, and how well it can adjust or adapt to those changes. Next, let's proceed to section 4, the creation of the Climate Change Commission. So the Climate Change Commission is an independent and autonomous body. So meaning it can make its own decisions without being controlled by the other government agencies. So it is directly attached to the office of the president, meaning the president will oversee its work, but it can still operate on its own. So this commission is very important because it will be the only body responsible for making policies and decisions about climate change. It will also coordinate all government efforts, making sure everything is on track with climate-related programs. It will also monitor and evaluate how well those plans are working. So as for this section, the commission must be organized within 60 days after the law takes effect. So it can get to work as soon as possible in dealing with the country's climate issues. So currently, these are the three commissioners. So it includes the Commissioner Rachel Ann S. Herrera, and also Commissioner Albert P. De La Cruz Sr. And the Vice Chairperson of the CCC is si Robert E. A. Borge. Section 15, creation of the Climate Change Commission, or the composition of the commission. So the Climate Change Commission is led by the President of the Philippines as the chairperson. So alongside with the President, there are three commissioners. So yung mga nabanggit natin na commissioners kanina, who will also be appointed by the President. So one of these commissioners will serve as the vice chairperson. So in addition to the commission itself, there is an advisory board that includes various government officials from key departments. So these members will advise the commission and ensure that climate change concerns are integrated across the various sectors. So these are some, so the members of the advisory board includes Secretary of Department of Agriculture, Secretary of Department of Energy, Secretary of DNR, and so on. So stated here among these, at least one representative must came from the disaster risk reduction community. So these representatives are appointed by the president from a list of nominees provided by their respective sectors. So they will serve for 6 years, and their appointment cannot be renewed unless their sector withdraws their representation. So if any vacancy arises, it will be filled only for the unexpired term of the person they replace. And importantly, only ex officio members or those in official government position will be allowed to appoint qualified representatives who must hold a rank of at least undersecretary. So let's proceed to section 6, meetings of the commission. So stated here, the Climate Change Commission meet at least once every 3 months. However, the chairperson can call for more frequent meetings if needed. So in these meetings, the chairperson can also ask other government agencies to join and help carry out the Climate Change Act effectively. So sa section 7 naman, qualifications, tenure, and compensation of commissioners. So the commissioners of the Climate Change Commission must meet the following qualifications to be qualified as a commissioner. So number 1, must be a Filipino citizens who live in the Philippines, at least 30 years old at the time of the appointment, and must have at least 10 years of experience in climate change and be known for their honesty and also integrity. They must also expert in climate change based on their education, training, and also sa experience. So sinasabi din dito sa section na to that one of the commissioner must be a female. And no two commissioners can come from the same sector. So the commissioner will hold office for 6 years, but they can be reappointed. However, they cannot serve for more than 2 consecutive terms. If a commissioner leaves their post before their term ends, a new appointee will be selected to complete the term. And they must meet all the required qualifications. Also, no commissioner can be temporarily appointed or act in place of another. So section 8, Climate Change Office. So the Climate Change Commission Office is set up to support the work of the commission. So it will be headed by the vice chairperson of the commission, who will also act as the executive director of the office. So sabi dito that the commission has the power to decide how many staff members are needed to create positions that will help carry out the responsibilities of the commission. However, all appointments for the staff must follow the civil service laws and regulations. And the executive director will appoint the officers and employees of the office. Section 9, powers and functions of the commission. So the commission has a wide range of important powers and functions to ensure that climate change is properly addressed. So this include number 1, mainstreaming climate change. So the commission is responsible for making sure that the climate change is included in national, sectoral, and local development plans. This also includes working with disaster risk reduction efforts to ensure both are tackled together. Next is coordination of climate change programs. So the commission will also work to coordinate and synchronize climate change programs across all national government agencies, ensuring everyone is aligned in their efforts. Letter C, formulate a framework strategy on climate change. So the commission will create a framework strategy on climate change. So this will guide all efforts for climate change planning, research, development, and also monitoring. So it will serve as the main document to organize the country's climate change actions. Already we have the policy coordination. So the commission will take charge of the policy coordination to make sure that the goals of the framework strategy are being met and that all activities are progressing as planned. Letter E, we have recommendations for legislations and policies. So the commission is responsible for suggesting new laws, policies, and strategies related to climate change, adaptation, and mitigation. So it will also recommend funding allocations for these activities to ensure that climate actions is properly supported. Letter F, we have the recommendation or recommend key development investments. So the commission will also recommend investments in climate-sensitive sectors like water sources, agriculture, forestry, and coastal and marine resources, health, and also sa ating infrastructure. So this will help ensure that the country can meet its national sustainable development goals while adapting to climate change. Letter G, create risk sharing or create an enabling environment. So the commission will help to create an environment that supports the design of risk sharing and risk transfer tools. So these are financial solutions that help to help people and business share the risk of climate change and impacts and ensure that they are better prepared. Next, formulate strategies on mitigating greenhouse gases. So the Commission will also foster an environment that encourages wider participation from different sectors of society, governments, business, NGOs, and also sa communities. It will also make sure that the climate change mitigation and adaptation are integrated into decision making. Next, we have the coordination or coordinate and establish a close partnership with National Disaster Coordinating Council or the NDCC. So the Commission will work closely with the National Disaster Coordinating Council to ensure that efforts to reduce vulnerability to climate-related disasters are efficient and effective. So this will help improve the country's preparedness for extreme weather events. So letter K, in coordination with Department of Foreign Affairs. So in collaboration with DFA, the Commission will represent the Philippines in international climate change negotiations. It will ensure that our country's voice is heard on the global stage regarding climate action. Next, formulate and update guidelines. So the Commission will also create and regularly update guidelines for assessing vulnerability to climate change and adaptation strategies. It will also provide technical assistance to help implement and monitor these efforts. Letter M, coordinate with local government units and private entities. So the Commission will work with LGUs and private entities to address the vulnerability of regions, provinces, cities, and municipalities to climate change. So this will ensure that local communities are well prepared for climate impacts. Next, facilitate capacity building. So the Commission will also support capacity building in vulnerable communities. This means helping local governments and organizations plan, implement, and monitor climate change initiatives to ensure that they are well prepared and able to adapt to climate impacts. Letter O, promote and provide technical and financial support. So the Commission will encourage and provide technical and financial support for research and development projects in vulnerable areas. So these programs naman will help the local communities to find solutions to their climate challenges and also enhance their resilience to climate change. Next, oversee the dissemination of information. So the Commission will make sure that the information about the climate change, local vulnerabilities, risk, relevant laws, protocols, and climate adaptation and mitigation measures is widely shared. So this ensures that everyone from policymakers to local communities has the necessary knowledge to take effective climate action. So Section 10, Panel of Technical Experts. So the Climate Change Commission is responsible for sa pag-create ng National Panel of Technical Experts. So this panel will consist of experts in various fields related to climate change and disaster risk reduction. So the panel's primary role is to provide technical advice sa Commission. So this includes offering expert insights on climate science, latest technologies, and best practices for risk assessment, and improving the adaptive capacity of communities vulnerable to climate change. The Commission will define the qualifications needed for these technical experts and also set their compensation. So this ensures that only qualified individuals who can provide high-level advice are included in the panel. The Commission also provide the necessary resources for the operations and activities of the panel, making sure it can carry out its functions effectively. Section 11 is the framework, strategy, and program on climate change. So one of the critical tasks of the CCC is to develop a framework strategy on climate change. So within 6 months from the effectivity of this act. So this framework will serve as the foundation for a comprehensive program focused on climate change planning, research and development, and monitoring of climate activities. The program will also focus on protecting vulnerable communities from negative impacts of climate change by providing solutions that are tailored to their specific needs. So this framework will be developed based on thorough understanding of the climate change vulnerabilities, specific adaptation needs, and the mitigation potential of different sectors. So this means looking at where changes need to be made to adapt to climate impacts and how emissions can be reduced to prevent further climate risk. The framework will also align with the international agreements, ensuring that the Philippines is working in coordination with global climate goals and actions. So the framework will be reviewed every 3 years or more often if necessary to ensure that it stays up to date with emerging climate science and the evolving needs of the country. So Section 12, these are the components of the framework strategy and programs on climate change. So the framework strategy on climate change is a comprehensive document that outlines how the Philippines will address and adapt to the challenges of climate change. So it includes several key components that ensure all aspects of climate action are covered. So it includes letter A, national priorities. So the framework will identify the national priorities in addressing climate change, focusing on the most urgent needs and actions that will make a significant impact. Letter B, impact, vulnerability, and adaptation assessment. So this framework will assess the impacts of climate change, vulnerabilities of different regions, and identify the adaptation measures needed to reduce the harm and improve the resilience. Letter C, policy formulation. So the Commission will develop policies based on the framework to guide national and local climate actions, ensuring that all climate-related initiatives are well coordinated. So letter D, compliance with international commitments. So this framework also will ensure that our country or the Philippines complies with the international agreement and aligns its national actions with global climate goals. Letter E, research and development. So this framework will also prioritize research and also development on climate science, mitigation strategies, and adaptation techniques to enhance the country's capacity to respond to climate challenges. Letter F, database development and management. So the framework will support also the creation of database to collect, manage, and share data on climate change impacts, vulnerability assessments, and adaptation strategies across sectors. Letter G, academic programs, capability building, and mainstreaming. So the Commission will also work on academic programs to educate and build capacity in institutions, communities, and the government. So this ensures that climate change is integrated into all sectors of society. Letter H, advocacy and information dissemination. So the Commission will engage in advocacy efforts to raise awareness about climate change and share information on the risk and available solution, helping communities and stakeholders to stay informed. Letter I, monitoring and evaluation. So to track the success of climate actions, the framework will include a system for monitoring and evaluating progress, making sure that climate goals are being met. Letter J, gender mainstreaming. So the framework will ensure that gender equality is considered in all climate action, making sure that both men and women benefit equally from climate policies and programs. So Section 14, Local Climate Change Action Plan. So Section 14 of the Climate Change Act focuses naman on empowering local government units to take the lead in addressing climate change within their own regions. So LGUs as frontliners, meaning LGUs are the primary agencies responsible for creating and implementing their own local climate change action plans, or the LCCAPs. So this ensures that local governments are taking direct action to address the unique climate challenges in their areas. Also, barangay involvement. Barangay must work closely with municipal or city governments to prioritize climate issues. So they also need to collaborate on identifying best practices that can help address local climate impacts. Also, for municipal and city governments, climate change adaptation is considered a regular function. So this means it should be part of their ongoing planning, budgeting, and implementation processes, ensuring that local communities are better prepared for climate change. Also, the provincial governments are tasked with providing technical assistance, enforcing climate-related regulations, managing climate data for lower LGUs, ensuring that local climate actions are aligned with provincial and national goals. Next, local governments are encouraged as well to collaborate on climate-related efforts. So this collaboration could include sharing resources and expertise and best practices to address climate change impacts across the region. So regular updates are also required. So LGUs must periodically revise their LCCAPs to ensure that they reflect the evolving social, environmental, and economic conditions in their areas. So these regular updates help ensure the plans stay relevant and effective. Next, submission to Climate Change Commission. So once revised or adopted, the updated LCCAPs must be submitted to the Climate Change Commission within 1 month. So this allows the CCC to monitor and evaluate the progress of climate action at the local level. Next, allocation of resources. LGUs are required to assign adequate personnel, funding, and logistical support to ensure that their climate change action plans are properly implemented. So this ensures that there is enough support and capacity to carry out climate programs. Next, local climate leader appointment. So the local chief executive must appoint a designated officer responsible for leading the development and execution of the LCCAP. So this ensures that there is a accountability and clear leadership within the LGU. Also, the national government is required to provide technical and financial assistance to LGUs to help them develop and implement their LCCAPs. So this supports ensures that even smaller LGUs with limited resources can effectively address the climate change. So for the funding authorization, so despite restrictions in the local government code, LGUs are explicitly allowed to use their internal revenue allotment to fund the implementation of their LCCAP. So this removes funding barriers and ensures that climate initiatives are prioritized. So section 15. So these are the role of government agencies. So to make sure that the framework, strategy, and program on climate change works effectively, so the different government agencies have specific roles. So each of these agencies is responsible for ensuring climate action is integrated into their area support. Concerned agencies shall perform the following functions. So for the DepEd is tasked with ensuring that the climate change education is part of primary and secondary curricula. So this includes teaching basic climate change principles sa mga subjects like science, biology, history, and social studies. So the goal is to raise awareness among students by integrating climate change into textbooks, educational materials, and teaching methods. So this creates a generation of young people who understand the importance of climate action. Next, the DILG, or the Department of Environment, or the Department of Interior and Local Government and Local Government Academy. So the DILG, along with the Local Government Academy, will focus on developing and delivering training programs for local government units. So these programs will cover the socio-economic, geophysical, and policy aspects of climate change, ensuring that the LGUs can address the specific climate risks and challenges in their regions. So special attention will be given to women and children, particularly sa mga rural areas, as they are among the most vulnerable to climate impacts. So the DENR naman is responsible for overseeing the creation and maintenance of climate change information management system. So this system will help gather and share important information on climate risk and adaptation and investment across the country. So the Department of Environmental and Natural Resources will work closely with other agencies, institutions, and LGUs to make sure that everyone has access to reliable and up-to-date climate data. Next, DFA also plays a key role in reviewing international climate change agreements and treaties. So the DFA will assess these agreements and recommend whether they should be ratified by the Philippine government. So this ensures that the Philippines complies with the international climate commitments and contributes to global efforts to tackle climate change. So next, the PIA, or the Philippine Information Agency. So the PIA is responsible naman for disseminating information to the public about climate change. So this includes raising awareness about local vulnerabilities, climate risks, and relevant laws and adaptation mitigation measures. By providing this information, the PIA helps communities understand the impacts of climate change and how they can take action. Next, government financial institutions, despite any conflicting provisions in their charters, are required to offer preferential financial packages for projects related to climate change. So these financial packages are intended to support climate adaptation and mitigation initiatives. So in consultation with with BSP or Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, these institutions must issue guidelines for these financial products within 30 days of the law's enactment. So the CCC will also evaluate and monitor the use of these funds, especially for LGUs, ensuring that the money is being used effectively. Section 16, coordination with various sectors. So the Climate Change Commission or the CCC is not working alone. So when it comes to addressing the climate change. So in order to create and implement effective national climate change action plans and local action plans, the Commission is expected to collaborate with variety of sectors, which includes yung mga NGOs, civic organizations, academe, people organizations, and the private and corporate sectors and other concerned stakeholder groups. Section 17, authority to receive donations or grants. So in order to fund the development and implementation of climate change programs, the Climate Change Commission has the authority to accept various forms of financial assistance or donations, including grants, contributions, donation, endowments, bequests, gifts, either in cash or time. So these donations can come from both local and even foreign sources. However, there are certain guidelines to ensure transparency and accountability. If yung donation comes from a foreign government, it needs to be approved by the President of the Philippines with a recommendation from the Secretary of Foreign Affairs. This is to ensure that the donations do not conflict with the country's foreign policies or interests. So the donations cannot be used for covering the operating expenses of personnel service expenditures of the Commission. Instead, the proceeds will be used for research and development of new technologies related to climate change. Also, vulnerability assessments, such as evaluating how different areas might be affected by climate change and identifying strategies for building adaptation capabilities. It can also use for advocacy, networking, and communication activities, including information campaigns to raise awareness about climate change and other activities deemed necessary by the Commission to meet the objectives of this act. Section 18, funding allocation for climate change. So as states here, the government must allocate funds for the government must allocate funds for the development and implementation of the climate change programs, including training, capacity building, and public awareness campaigns. Funding will also support women in rural areas and micro credit schemes to help communities to adapt to climate change. Section 19, Joint Congressional Oversight Committee. So a Joint Congressional Oversight Committee made up of senators and representatives will monitor the implementation of the Climate Change Act. So this will ensure that the government and local authorities follow the plan and make recommendations for improvements. So the committee's budget will come from the Congress funds. Section 20, for the annual report. So the Climate Change Commission must submit an annual report to the President and Congress detailing the progress of climate change actions. So local governments must also report on their climate action plans by the first quarter of each year to track the progress. So that's the end of the presentation about Climate Change Act of 2009. Thank you for listening.